All right, and we are live. Welcome, everyone. We have a special show tonight with the four hosts of the best shows in all of Lego YouTube investing. Lego investing YouTube. There's a lot of words in there. I'm very excited. We have Jim, Kevin, Brian, David. You guys should all know who they are. It's the Wolfer Bricks, KDX Bricks Analytics, Brick Domain, and DG Bricks. So, gentlemen, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
So, let's start right at the beginning. Is Lego investing dead? Let's start with the big one. What do you guys think? Go ahead. Dive in. Jim. I can see the little eye twitch there. Like you want.
I mean, I definitely have opinions, but I don't want to be the first one to. I mean, if people have no objections, I'm happy to be the one that does the icebreaker and start.
It has to be you.
We're pro at icebreakers. Let's do it.
All right. So, let me pull up the cheat sheet. I was just on eBay. So, is Lego investing dead? The answer is yes. Now, hear me out. Everybody's laughing because you're like, well, what was that thing you just said about what's his name?
City.
Yeah, Stud City. So is Lego investing dead? The answer is yes. Is this also the best time to be a Lego investor? The answer is yes. Two things could be right at the same time. It just depends how you look at it. Are there people that, is disco fever dead? Yes. Are there people making money off of disco, the medium still? Yes. The game has changed. You have to know what you're doing. You have to have a love for it. But is there still money to be made? Yes. Is the wave of investors mostly gone from COVID? The answer is yes, or they should be because they're just hanging around. Last call has already been sounded and the lights are blinking and it's time for you to get out of the damn bar. So that's where I'll start on it.
Okay.
Can you play some Semisonic closing time while Jim's talking next time? Brian, fire away. I want to hear what you and Space Baby have to say.
Is Lego investing dead? The old way is, yes, you cannot buy 20% off and succeed. Have to have very good discounts. And you can't just coast. You can't go on cruise control and buy sets you think look good. You got to do research. You got to look at the numbers. And those two things will make you a very profitable Lego investor.
There's a lot to unpack there. Is Lego investing dead? But that's an implication there that something has killed Lego investing. What something is, I look forward to diving deeper into. The market is always changing, and as long as you can buy low and sell high, of course it's not dead.
Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, so for me, my answer is I don't know. But my answer is also I don't care. Kind of paralleling what Jim said. So, it's not dead for me. And, kind of, I guess, mashing what everybody's saying, right? So following what Jim says a little bit, but following what Brian says and DG, which is you got to be smart. I'm tactical about it. I'm patient. I think we need to be more patient today than ever. I also don't put all my eggs in one basket, right? Like diversification. I'm not going to risk Lego investing where if I do lose out that I'm now out on the street somewhere. It's a balance there. But my big question would be, what are the indicators? How would we know? And in the meantime, I don't want to miss it when or if it's going to be great, right? So Lego investing might be dead. I don't care, but I'm sure as heck not going to miss it. I think there's still a lot of opportunity for good things. And I think history is kind of interesting. So recently, views on my videos are down a little bit. I don't know what it means, but I think in general, it feels like there's less buzz around Lego investing. I think as the economy concerns continue to rise, I know the economy itself hasn't struggled that much yet, but the concerns continue to rise. Uncertainty is a problem. I think I'm seeing a little bit more negativity on my channel about, oh, you mean investors, in kids' toys and that kind of thing, which is interesting. So there's a little bit of anecdotal evidence. But then if we look back at 2003, when Lego was about to have to split up and sell off or go bankrupt, I can tell you one thing. I wish I could go back in time and buy a bunch of Star Wars and Harry Potter sets from 2003. Now, I imagine they were a little longer hold time, and I wouldn't want to hold them 22 years today and resell them for a 200% return on investment. That wouldn't be worth it. But 2007, we had big housing crash, and I'm sure I know a bunch of sets from them performed pretty, still performing pretty well. But then the counter argument is today, Lego has basically lost all of their patents or control over them other than the minifigure. And so there's a lot more high quality, legit competition out there for Lego. I honestly think that's a good thing for all of us, regular collectors and investors. So I just think, like we've all been saying, things are just changing. And you got to be ready to roll with the changes. We live in a dynamic world with all the technology, how fast that changes. I don't think it's dead. It's just different, and it's going to change and be different very quickly. Years coming. I think year after year, it's going to be a little different.
Yep. So you mentioned looking at your analytics and views going down. How do they compare to this time last year? Have you looked at that?
Yeah, and they're so. I would say they're flat to this time last year, but a year ago, I think I was only a year and a half into my channel, so I was still on a steeper incline. So I think when I adjust, my assessment is everything being equal, it's slightly down from same time last year.
Maybe you just need to make better videos, Kevin.
Well, and maybe I need to not love every set, including the dioramas.
Oh, well, yeah, that's probably valid.
Can we all just agree that Jim and I love every set, and then you've got the antagonists on the panel here? Good thing you're wearing the referee shirt, Ken.
Jumping jacks. We're doing jumping jacks
That's
over
right.
here.
There you go.
Right.
Jim and
The
I.
JJ.
I love it. All right. So, Brian, let's lead off with you on this one, since you were the first to kind of mention to this. Now the 20% off is basically regular price. What discount is good, do you think? Is 50% plus always a buy? Where do you stand there?
So for me, like I tier every single set that's retiring based on a percentage discount. So the lowest I target is for like the highest, the cheapest, the most expensive I'll buy a set pretty much now is 40% off. Lego exclusives, that's my best. That's the best level. And after that, 45% maybe for a widely available set. Many of them probably 50%. And then it tiers down to 60%. In rare cases, 65%. But I mean, you all know discounts are the king for me, and so I'm very aggressive with targeting those.
Yep.
Brian,
right.
Can you walk us through real quick the layers to your 7-layer salad there for getting all those discounts? Because I know you track and account for everything, like your credit cards. Like I love watching your videos on that.
Yeah, it's everything. Discounted gift cards. The retailer rewards, whatever that is, if it's Barnes & Noble stamps, Lego Insiders points, and then memberships, you have Barnes & Noble's premium membership discount, but it's typically stacking those on top of a existing sale if we're at the end of the year, and then if we're right now in the current year, we're buying from Lego with gifted purchases, sunless gifted purchases, discounted gift cards from giftcards.com, and you stack all those things together. Rakuten, I mean, for me, I don't get cash back from Rakuten on Lego.com specifically, and I'm not trying to fight all the manual adjustments, but many people are willing to do that, but it's not for me. But so yeah, that's how I stack.
I think we should talk about distribution of that 50%. So on the banner, now that 20% off is regular price, what discount is good? Is 50% always a buy? In the whole retirement list of, let's call it 600 sets retiring, is that about right? Is that even a ballpark?
Like 350?
Is it 3? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's suppose we have our whole list. would I take 50% off on each one of those sets? The answer is overwhelmingly yes. On the flip side, we have to consider the sets we actually see 50% off on as a direct discount are the bottom 10 percentile of that list. It's the garbage sets. So the 50% that you actually see, you want to be a little bit discerning about. And as far as the top 25 sets everyone's talking about, how many of those will really hit 50% in an easy upfront way that doesn't involve a 7-layer cake? Probably very few. You can still get the 50%. You just have to kind of be clever about it.
Exactly. Many sets that see 50% off, especially before Q4, are not even going to be good at that discount. Depends on the set. But in Q4, I mean, November, December, we see tons of great sets at significant discounts. You can stack on additional discounts on top of that. So if you're willing to wait and not buy anything until Q4, you could unload a ton of cash at very significant discounts on sets that haven't been discounted earlier that year.
That's one topic I wanted to bring up for you guys is this year, it's felt like the discounts have been very few and far between, the buying opportunities. So, and there's kind of I've felt it emotionally myself. I'd be curious to know, the four of you, as it gets closer to the end of the year and you're still holding most of your cash, you start to kind of panic, right? You're like, well, am I even going to be able to deploy this? Or is there just going to be nothing to buy? The answer is always no. There's always amazing deals toward the end when everyone's strapped for cash. So it's just like a mental game, at least for me.
Yeah, I would rather hold on to my money than make a bad buy because I feel obligated to purchase something. But, kind of to the point is it's very rare that you're going to be in a position where you have to hold your money because there's nothing to buy. What do you guys think?
Jim, what do you think? I'm curious.
Kevin, Jim?
I mean, so why are we here? We're here for two reasons. We're here to win and we're here to make money. So the last thing I want to do is move the conversation outside of Lego. And I'm not, but I mean, there are times where I'm like, so the last thing I want to do is put words in people's mouth, right? But there's a reason why we're selling Lego and not dog food or other reasons, right? We enjoy it. The community is fun. It could be diva-ish sometimes, but all in all, I would rather have a bunch of Home Depot boxes with Lego than a bunch of Home Depot boxes with dog treats or hardware, right? But at the end of the day, we're all here to make money. And sometimes Lego is not the easiest path to make money. So I'm not necessarily saying, and so back to a point earlier, I totally agree with, psychology is a big part, right? Where it's like you have this wad of money in your bank account, right? And it's 2 days after Christmas. You got like $15,000 in your account, and you're saying to yourself, shit, I certainly hope Amazon will find a pallet of A-frame cabins or something like that, right? Maybe that's a bad example because guess what? Amazon found a pallet of A-frame cabins.
I think they found a warehouse.
Yeah, they found a warehouse. And I don't know who it is, but I love the old curmudgeon. And when I say old curmudgeon, I'm pretty much talking about 90% of Brick Picker. They're like, all the YouTube experts said this was a winner. But to make to stop me from rambling, there are times that I'll say to myself, and again, I'm not trying to steer it away from Lego, but I've said many times I'm trying to get out of fiat, right? So as soon as I have fiat in the bank, I need to put it into something hard, and it's either going to be Lego or it's going to be something else. And there will be times I might put it into something else with the expectation of flipping it and maybe putting it back to Lego. Because here's the thing, I've said it many times on my channel, but I don't think I've said it to a handful of people here, although they've probably heard me say this. You know, we're not resellers. We multiply money, all right? And one of the ways to do that is with Lego. One of the best ways to do it is with Lego. So there will be times where, you know, you could call it 20 grand in the bank. It's just sitting there, right? It's staring at you. It's saying, what are you going to do with me? What are you going to do with me? Or you may have 20 grand of architecture Eiffel Towers, the $35 ones, and it's not at that price that you thought it should be at that Q4, and it's looking at you, right? So that's a different type of psychology. But at the end of the day, you have value. It doesn't matter if it's cash. It doesn't matter if it's Lego. You have $20,000 worth of value looking at you, and sometimes you just need to make a decision, and that decision is we're just going to leave it in the bank, or you know, sometimes I'll just, you know, because I'm a weirdo, I'll just withdraw a couple $1,000 and I'll just stick it on the shelf because I know that will discipline me from pulling the trigger on something that I probably shouldn't do. So I apologize if I really didn't answer that question, but there's a point where, and the last thing I want to do is come off as, you know, the person that's been reselling longer than anybody else. But there comes a point, and I'm hoping everybody on this channel right now that's chatting is included in this, where you have enough inventory, you have enough cash, you have enough, you know, Q4s under your belt, where you're saying to yourself, you know what, is it really the end of the world if I don't spend this $7 grand on the Phantom Menace brickheads or whatever it is, right? The pink parrots, the whatever. It's not the end of the world, because it just isn't. I mean, you if you wanted to be motivated, you could go ahead and put in a high interest savings account for a couple months, which, even though that's only 5 minutes worth of clicking mouses, I'm not motivated enough. I'm just gonna keep that cash in there and keep on looking at it. So I'm sorry for taking up a lot of time.
You're good.
I think about things the same way, though. I just assess of all the capital, basically, we'll call it, that I own: fiat, gold, stocks, bonds, real estate, Bitcoin, what have you, business shares. I want to basically arbitrage that. If I have something sitting in the high yield, you know, earning a couple percentage points, if I can instead throw that into something earning me 20% a year, risk adjusted, of course I would do that. I want all my money working for me as hard as it can be at all times. So it's just a matter of moving things around. And then, of course, you have platform fees when you go to sell. You have friction within the system every time you move, and sales tax and whatever, you're paying taxes on gains. But the principle is the same, which is I want my money to work for me as hard as it can work.
Kevin, what's your take?
Yeah, I'm the same. Except, you know, Jim mentioned it. He's been reselling a lot longer than I have, and that's why I enjoy seeing his videos. And you know, Jim, you should be like a motivational speaker, but not the kind where you like walk out of the venue, you know, your audience walks out of the venue going, yeah, I'm gonna seize life. The kind where they walk out of the venue going, and then like a week later, you know, it hits them in the head like, oh, there was a lot of wisdom in what Jim had to say, you know? So I don't want to say the demotivational speaker, but it's kind of like the low-key motivational speaker. So I think you've got another career in your future.
I've always thought, you know, in order for me to to have the pastor that I wanted us to marry us in this month will be our 20. You had to go to premarital counseling, right? And I'm looking at this conference room. Everybody looks so in love. Everybody this, everybody that. I said, this is what I said. There's 50% of divorce rate out there. I need to be a premarital counselor. I guarantee you, I would solve that problem. 25% of the people would decide not to get married after they were in the room with me. I'm sorry. I really am done talking. I really am done talking.
This is awesome. I love it. Jim, I love how I like set him up, man, and you just knock him down with that. That is so good. That is so good.
That was perfect.
But yeah, so yeah, Jim's been doing it a lot longer than me, and I find that DG and I have recorded a lot together, and I find that DG, even though I do the analytics, the KDX Bricks Analytics stuff, DG is really smart about it, really analytical about it, really sharp mind. One thing that I really, it's a sad moment, but I was, it gave me that rush of optimism and motivation when DG said to me, yeah, I lost all my Lego in the fire back in California. And he didn't say it to me like he was giving up. He just said it to me very matter-of-factly. He said, yeah, and this last year was my best, most tactical, precise investing year. And I was, and from he and I talking and sharing notes and that kind of stuff, I'm like, man, he is good at it. And then Brian is just so, methodical about it. And, those discounts, like Brian is just so disciplined, like he has his game plan. He's disciplined. And then you got me who is like, I want to make sure I'm in the game. And I think you guys have heard me say this on, some recent videos, but work has got extremely busy for me recently. And, look, I got to prioritize first self, family, health, all those kind of things, and then work. And so Lego investing is maybe 5th on my list. And so, I'm no Brian's saying I got to make it higher.
Got to reorder some things there.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'll tell my wife that she moved to the bottom. It's the breaks. But
well, you can also put it on ice. I mean, it's the down season, right?
No, I cannot
move it down the list is what I'm saying. Just temporarily.
I know,
until October discounts hit.
Well, so you took the words out of my mouth. Exactly. So because of the changing, the uncertainty, the chaos, kind of getting back to this question here, right? So I'm still doing my work. I'm no slouch when it comes to being analytical and being smart. But I do make some decisions, and certainly in our videos that DG and I do make some emotional, decisions. And I personally like that set, but I enjoy investing in sets that I personally like. I think there's some value there. I pay more attention to sets that I personally like.
I got to interrupt though.
Yeah.
People always talk about how wide should you go versus deep, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I like to say Kevin's strategy is to buy 2 copies of like 400 sets and call it a day.
Hey, I have 63
so
pink
hard
parrots.
to manage.
I have 63 pink parrots. Jim's probably got 1,000, but I have 63 pink parrots. Damn it! No, I know. So I'm finding that I'm not finding the time right now to be as intelligent about it as I'd like to be. But if you find good discounts and you've done your homework ahead of time to have a good feel of what sets are on your hit list, then you don't have to be that intelligent. Am I maximizing full return on investment, to somebody that's doing it full time? No. But again, if I've done my homework, good hit list, and I am savvy about discounts, which I am, then then I think I'm making it happen. And so, yeah, back to the question, 20% off, not good, other than the rarest Lego exclusive set that, you'll get some GWPs and probably work it up to 30% off. But I'm thinking like typewriter, that did go on sale at Target, I think, right there at the end. But that one was hard to get on sale, and it is going to do well. But for the most part, you got to get close to that 50% off. And then I won't steal the thunder on a future question that's coming up, but patience, and even possibly waiting into January, February You know, like Jim said, you got that $7,000. If the iron isn't right, then I'm waiting until January, February, because there will be sets that retired that year that are still available.
All right. So this question, man, you guys have set up like all of the following questions. I don't know where I want to go next.
You have a whistle to go with the ref suit?
You know, actually, I did get a whistle, but my kids are sleeping, so I decided to opt out of that one, and I couldn't
So you'll
find a
just
button.
wave at us.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, let's go to this one.
There you go.
Because this is a big one here.
That's the one I
is
set up.
Amazon a Lego investor now? What do you think? You want to start?
Yeah, I'll jump in just to continue on. So obviously we have no idea, but it certainly seems like it. It certainly feels like it. And I know one sub question of this is going to be, if they are a Lego investor, how do we combat that? And for me, it's just coming to patience. I've really been disciplined early in the year. If I see a good deal or a good GWP or something like that, if I'm not stacking it, you know, I think to myself, what would Brian do? Am I hitting the same stack that Brian would hit? The answer is no. I'm waiting, because with Amazon investing and potentially investing, more sets will be available later in the year and again into the following year.
All right. Who's up?
Yeah, so is Amazon a Lego investor? I wouldn't call it that. I'd say they like making money. I mean, so I guess maybe, I don't know, but there are absolutely certain sets that that Amazon decides they would like to order a lot of for the end of the year. Like, there's just no question. On the recent like Brick Talk episode, I talked about the X-Wing Starfighter, the $50 one, sold like 100,000 units at least after retirement, and like that's just not an accident. There are definitely some sets that linger and maybe they didn't intend to, but there's also the aspect of Amazon raising prices above MSRP. And so I think that's more so probably their algorithm to seeing like, oh, where's market rate? We're going to adjust. And I'm sure they do that with every product. You know, it's not just Lego. So I don't think it's a Lego specific thing. They're like, oh, these people are making money. Like, we're going to make money too because we're going to invest in Lego. It's more so they see market rate. They see how much supply they have, and they adjust prices from there. So is Amazon a Lego investor? No.
I look at Amazon Lego as kind of a troublemaker, right? There's a lot of things going on. So I don't necessarily think that Amazon raising their prices on Lego is policy, right? But I do see that there are times where they will find an opportunity. And, you know, I go back to when I entertain myself to try and be a fly on the wall in the Lego boardroom, right? I try and entertain myself to be a fly on the wall in the, not the Amazon boardroom, but there's some punk kid maybe that's like 24, 25 that is trying to cut their teeth with Amazon. And they're like, you know, there's these Lego investing channels, right? This, that, and the other. And so, you know, what's the root cause for those prices to go up, right? Because those prices that go up are never consistent. I mean, they might be consistent for a little bit, but there's always a decline. And so the non-Christian side of me, which is unfortunate that there is, says to myself, all right, let's freaking Greco-Roman wrestle it out, because I will wear you the F down, buddy. Right? Now, and going back to earlier with psychology, is that the best thing to do? No, but it's something that's entering my mind. I mean, I'm looking at those freaking those 250 Orange Technic Corvettes that I had, right? That was the first one where I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then, you know what would be the funniest thing? After this chat, you and I go in, the five of us go into the green room, and we pick one retiring Lego set that we're absolutely going to pump and we're absolutely not going to buy. And we'll see if there's some little goon on Amazon that's like, guess what? We're going to buy a ton of these and we're going to teach them a lesson. Well, you teach us that lesson. And I'm just saying this because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see, and we have limited knowledge, right? We only see what we could see online. I don't see a business plan out there, right? I don't see, okay, this time of year. I mean, the only thing consistent we see with Amazon is usually around August, September, October, they start sending out those threatening letters, or Lego does, right? That you can't resell things that are currently available. I don't see any consistency where we could predict, but at the same time, I don't need that prediction to succeed in my business. Eventually, if you diversify, great. If you don't, eventually you'll get pinched. But am I wrong that I don't see a pattern that everybody can predict? The interesting thing about this is, right, you have the hard gating that has come on, right? And you have it with Lego, you also have it with Hasbro, you have it with Nike, you have it with other stuff. We've talked to, I've had, I shared the story how there's this really nice person. I mean, this is a very honorable person that you would want to be your friend. He lives 90 minutes from me. He's a VIP member, and he said, without an announcement, there was 20 grand of Hasbro stuff on my front porch from Amazon. They cleared out my the shelves in the Amazon warehouse. Do we see this inflated price with other items, or is it just specific to Lego? That's something that I don't have the answer to just yet.
Interesting. I got a couple people I could check with on that, because now I'm very curious.
I mean, the Travis Scott Air Jordans, I don't know if so. Personal story here. I never bought any Air Jordans in my life until this year, right? They were always $15 more than what my grandmother was willing to buy, and she's been in hospice for almost a fucking year now. And so I can't wait for her to die just so I could use her money. I'm like 4 drinks in right now, so I'm sorry, guys. So I can't wait for her to buy me Air Jordans. So I said I'm going to buy some Air Jordans. There's these Air Jordans. They're called Air Jordan Comfort for people that are 50 and over. Anybody can buy them, of course, right? But and they're half the price. But somebody right now who's just chilling, do a Camel 3X on the Air Jordan Comforts, right? Because you should be able to get them, I want to say, for like $99, $120. If there's an Air Jordan Comfort that, November of last year, when you see the green line, because the blue line is us, if you see the green line at like 140, 150, then you might have a better answer. Or are they just targeting us and us Lego people?
You got to figure it's unlikely they're targeting just Lego, right?
I mean, there's people. I mean, 20 years ago, if I worked for Amazon, I would have an axe to grind. Just me. It's not. I'm not. I mean, this is a fault of mine, but. I mean, I'm just saying, we saw during COVID how many assholes there are in this world, right? Those people didn't go away once COVID left. There's assholes among us everywhere.
So I have 2 responses to Jim.
Please.
And the whole topic. So Jim, you said, I don't see a pattern we can predict. And that got the light bulb going on for me. So I think what's going on at Amazon is not permanent, number one. I'll get to that in a second. But I think what's going on at Amazon is AI. I think this is all AI driven, because it's like 85% of it, you're like, okay, yeah, I don't necessarily like it, but I get it. There's logic behind it. I buy that. And then there's the 15% that you're like, where was the logic? Like, who made that decision? And to me, that parallels exactly where AI is today. There's like the 85% that's good, and then the 15% that's just off the wall crazy. And the random prices going up and down and that kind of stuff. I swear, I think they just set AI on, hey, you know, Lego and maybe some other departments, tell us if we should order more, change prices in the system automatically. Who knows? So that's one thought. I think there's a lot of AI behind it. A good testing ground for Amazon to try AI, because we know they're going to be heavily involved in that. But then my other thought, and it's a question for the group, is this last year or so was so much zombie stock on Amazon. Is that Amazon proactively creating that opportunity or that environment for themselves, or is it that Lego is so overproducing, especially on the tail end of COVID, that Lego and Amazon just got together and Lego said, hey, look, we way overprojected numbers on certain sets, and you guys are the largest online retailer. We just need you to take them and clear them out. And Amazon said, absolutely. And I feel like Lego is already showing signs of adjusting their production numbers to more match market demand. And we know that production projections and numbers are absolutely a lagging indicator or a lagging effect to actual market demand. So it happens all the time with companies that they overproduce something. So I'm curious if, again, signs are that Lego is trying to match production to demand. Are we still going to have Amazon finding warehouses of sets, you know, long after retirement in a year or two? And I think it's possible the answer would be no to that.
So if I could just comment to that, I think what you just said was brilliant. You know, I laughed whenever I saw Ken with the referee shirt, because I said the last thing we need right now, I think, is a referee will not be needed. Although I do support having a referee on hand, because at the end of the day, we all have our opinions, and you know how that goes, right? So to build on, and I wouldn't have had these thoughts in my head until you said what you said. So I'm so grateful for it. You know, just looking at AI in general, right? People talk about what AI is going to look like in the future and how it's going to complement people's jobs. And there's a lot of bean counters that don't understand AI right now, and they're like, well, we want AI right now. And so there's and the product isn't necessarily at 100%. So you have AI doing certain things that probably at that moment may seem optimal, but when the five of us look at a Camel 3X chart for the last 12 months, we're like, what the hell is going on with that? The other thing, and I forget this channel's name, I've plugged it a couple times on my channel. I think it's called like All-Star Bullshitters or something like that, where there's this guy that just goes to Ollie's, they go to Target, they go to Walmart, and you know, I think it was hilarious that this was like 2 years ago. They looked at a Star Wars Rey action figure, and they turned it around and they looked at the date on the back, and they said, this Rey action figure has been at this location for 3 presidencies, right? So I wonder, and this is something I'm probably going to chew on if I remember this conversation. I wonder if, you know, Ollie's is exploding. I don't know if you know that. Ollie's is exploding right now, because I don't know if they're taking some of the market share from Dollar General and all that other stuff. But I wonder if there's, I don't know if maybe, this is going to sound very ignorant, but like if there's like this Amazon Ollie's department now, where it's like this virtual warehouse where where they have 10 or 15% of their warehouse dedicated to just junk. And I don't want to say junk, because A-frame cabins, are amazing in things of that sort, but I feel like there is a part of the story that is not being told yet, and we probably won't even know for 5 or 7 years. And when we figure that out, when we finally see that 5 or 7 years, we'll be like, okay, it totally makes sense that Amazon is having a Ollie's version where, and when I say Ollie's version, I'm talking about where everything is discounted out of, liquidated out of Walmart, Target, all those other places, and it eventually trickles down to the Ollie's level. And that's what we're seeing now, but we just haven't necessarily labeled it as, you know, the Ollie's department of the Lego Amazon website.
I'm convinced Jim is an Ollie's stockholder. He's pumping it, he's plugging it, he's saying it as many times as he can.
Yeah. It's a good call.
The thing is, if Amazon was trying to be like Ollie's, they would be clearancing them out at 60% off, which would be amazing, but they're holding on to it, and that's the issue. If they would discount them and clear them out, that's awesome, but they just keep holding on to them at MSRP.
Yeah, and also to Jim's point and to Kevin, we're making broad, sweeping generalizations about the market. The Lego market is it over? Is it overbought? We're talking about it as one thing, and we need to talk about it instead as 350 individual set line items. Is A-frame, supply and demand, is it oversupplied? Yes, A-frame is. Is Globe? No, obviously not, because that disappeared around November, and it's on its way to doubling. So to go back, Coliseum.
Yeah.
Did that dry up October, November? It was early.
Yep.
But to tie this question, is Amazon a Lego investor now? Back to the first question of about to hold your dollars or to spend them, right as it gets down to New Year's, right? I'm going to go ahead and disagree on the Kevin point that it's wise to save some cash for January and Feb, because those sets that are around aren't the ones you want. And if I look at my results last year, which are paper results since I don't have the inventory anymore, but if I look at my purchase list, all my best winners from 2024 went out of stock October, November, December. None of them stayed around till January. The Globe, Tales of the Space Age, sets that have already doubled after fees.
Batman Shadow Box.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the A-frame hit like 300 or 280 because it sold out, but then it came back in stock in January.
So I thought about, and I'll still do this because just because I would say my best selling set this year is the typewriter. I bought it at 50% off. I just sold one 2 days ago for like $150. Of course, they're in fucking California, but whatever. We love California. But when you're in Louisville, Kentucky, that's another story. But
for shipping purposes, to be clear.
But
at least it wasn't Alaska.
Yeah, or Hawaii, and I've been there. But yeah, I mean, in those. So, can I? I'm not the host of this, but can I ask a question? Can I take an informal poll? Typewriter is boring. I mean, does everybody agree that boring does well?
Yes.
You've been a big fan of architecture forever, right?
Yes.
Kind of plays
Boring
into that
does
whole-
well, and I
whole
learned
idea.
that from you, Jim, in your videos.
Jim, if you're gonna dump on the typewriter, you need to do it to its face.
Hey, I got one.
That actually looks like
I
it
got
has
one.
all
Time.
Hey,
Boring is good though.
yeah. And I sent it today. This was the last day. I sent it to San Diego, California. First name's Jennifer. Area code starts with 614, Columbus, Ohio. I'm sure there's a story to that, but anyway. but yeah, so it's very interesting. In last year, I mean, I'll just, I mean, I hope people that watch my channel know I'm honest, right? So what I have no problem saying that around August, September, October, I said to myself, okay, what out there is going to be like the Coliseum? Because we had 2 years, the year prior, 2 years ago, the Coliseum went out. And the last thing I freaking paid attention to was DC, right? Because everybody shits on DC, even though DC is better than Marvel. And I'm sorry, that's a fact. But I was like, I'm not even going to pay attention to DC. And the next thing I know, I'm like, oh shit, where's these shadow boxes at, right? But I'm trying to think right now. And the globe is great. I was watching, so I'm like a political junkie because in another life I worked for one of the state parties on the left or the right. You can guess on that one. And I'm looking at this dude, and in the background I see this Lego globe, and I'm thinking to myself, that motherfucker. But are there any? So you could talk about retiring sets ad nauseum, right? And is the new thing, speculating what's going to go out of stock in August, September, and October? Because I mean, I think it's, again, I don't want to put words in people's mouth. Is Lego investing dead? It's not for us, right? But it is for the ones that have in there are different types of Lego investors out there, right? There are there's I'm just going to use the first name. There's a Lego investor out there. His first name is Howie. The one thing I love about Howie is he does nothing but talk shit about me on Brick Picker. But whenever I call him, he acts like I'm not on Brick Picker. And so he's the nicest person possible to me. But he's kind of in the sunset of his Lego. He could afford to have 1,000 sets just collecting dust in a corner. I feel like I'm lazily going towards that direction. But there's another part of me that's like, no, Jim, you're still in the game. And I'm like, is the new thing like, okay, every week starting in August, I'm going to look to see what the inventory levels are of certain sets, what's out of stock. And we all know when something is out of stock at Lego Shop at Home, it can mean 5 different things. It just all depends. And when you post that online, you'll get 10 different opinions. But like, is this the new... in order to be successful, you have to have your nose to the ground in this area.
I think so, but I'm not going to start speculating. I think diversification within the Lego investing universe is important too. And to respond to DG, I saw the referee over there signaling that DG called me out, so I get an opportunity to respond. So, yeah. I think it makes sense that your 5 highest performing sets were the ones that went out of stock early. That's going to be the huge indicator of major undersupply on the secondary market. But again, I think finding those 5 and speculating on them is risky. Now, having some of those 5 in your portfolio, I think if we're doing it right, they would be in there, most likely. Even though I missed on the shadow box, even though I loved it. And so I'm like Jim, kicking myself in the head. But I still like, well, I'm not saying I do it intentionally. I'm okay with having investing cash available into the January, February timeframe. But DG and I do it a little differently. DG, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do most of your purchasing online. And I like to hit up some Walmart stores that are all nearby. I can hit a couple on my way home from work some days, or I can do a pretty quick loop and hit 4 or 5 of them. And so I've had pretty good luck finding good sets that are on, those Walmart massive clearance sales, even in January, post Christmas, and have done pretty well with those. And yeah, maybe they're, not going to be the the most prominent sets, they'll be middle of the road, but you find a middle of the road $40 set for $18 and pick up 5 of those off of the first Walmart and then another, 5 off of the next 2. Like I'm looking up at my stack of the Brachiosaurus Jurassic World sets, and I got all those, I think just over 50% off. And if I sold them now, I'm already close to 100% ROI, and I'm gonna I might wait till the holidays and unload some of those. So it's a strategy thing. Like you guys said earlier, there are different methods of doing it. That's one thing that's pretty fun about Lego investing. If you're doing stocks or gold or commodities or something else, it's not simple per se, but the process is simple. You either buy it or you sell it. And yes, there's research involved. I get it. But with Lego, there's a lot of how you buy it, how you source it, and how you stack deals. And so I look at it as a puzzle. To echo what we were saying up front of this episode, I do it partly because I enjoy it. There's a lot of fun with it. It's a game. It's the hunt, and it's obviously multiplying your money.
Yeah, so my take is we're never going to be able to accurately predict what sets will dry up early, but what we can do is, as part of our research, monitor supply, seller count, and all of that, so that if a set does go out of stock early, those are going to be the sets that skyrocket. We saw the same thing with Batman, the Shadow Box. Like, that's something that was obvious. If you look at Keepa, you can see very few sellers. It was selling for like $600 all throughout its shelf life. So if it goes out of stock, we know it's going to hit 800. And that's what happens. But we didn't know if it was going to stick around and be like the Black Panther bust. And like, were people actually not buying it? Because we don't know. It was a Lego exclusive. We don't have that data. So it could have totally been 40% off for 3 months. And that was the risk reward with that set.
Yep.
So, and the way I research sets, like supply and demand, obviously are like the biggest factors. And so if there's low supply, a set goes out of stock early, you're going to hit a big win. And so that's what you can monitor for. But I don't think there's any way you can accurately predict what set will dry up early, because we already mentioned A-frame cabin. It's sold out from everywhere, but then it came back in stock. So it's just so hard to pretend to predict, because Lego can just whip out another round of inventory whenever they want into January.
So one thing I wonder about all of this is the ordering process, because I don't think Lego says to Amazon, this is what we're sending you, you have to sell it. I think in Q2, they say to Amazon, what do you want for Q4? Give us 5 months and we'll have it delivered to you, whatever. So then Amazon puts in their order and they get it, months later. So if they have that much stock, that, I don't know, 12 months later, 10 months later, zombie stock, they had to have ordered that months in advance. So wouldn't that imply that they were planning to have it that long? Because nobody has better data than Amazon. They should know what they're going to sell for what amount of time, right? Seems like that would be an intentional play.
Good point.
Now, does that happen for all of the retailers? Do they all operate that way? I would assume.
No, they're all different. I mean, by revenue, I don't know. Again, across all industry, not strictly Lego, Walmart and Amazon are both huge. I don't know which one's bigger, but I know that Walmart and Target, Walmart is significantly larger, like 3 times larger.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you have your little guys, you have Barnes & Noble, Kohl's, all the regional guys.
Do me a favor. Can you just repeat what you just said again?
Total revenue, Target is about a third the size of Walmart.
Okay.
Well, if you look at what, first of all, the annual revenue in the reports, offhand, I mean, so we could look it up. It's real quick. Also by store count, I think there's like 3 times as many or 5 times as many. Let's just find this out.
This
okay,
is
Walmart 4,600 stores in the U.S. Target 2,000 basically. So it's over twice as big Walmart is. And then annual revenue target is, thanks Google AI, 100 billion. Walmart revenue last year compared to 100 billion, 648 billion. there you
Lego
go.
revenue $1 trillion. No, I'm kidding. But that's what it feels like.
Money printer activated.
345 pieces and a few minifigures and an X-Men jet, $85.
Oh,
So I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm going to give a monologue that will hopefully be under 30 seconds. So I deserve that
comedy
laugh.
portion of the show.
I totally deserve that laugh. But
Yes,
but
I'm
if
gonna
I
go get a
if I
drink,
get it
right?
under 30 seconds, whatever I
I'll
stay, if I go to California and I got a trip to California,
I'll eat crow if you get it under 30 seconds.
hey,
my
I'm
foot.
going to Florida, probably sometime this year. So somebody's buying me a beer if I get it under 30 seconds. And I just totally forgot what
Already
the
hit
question
30.
was. No, I totally forgot the question I was going to ask. I'm so embarrassed right now. But no, so I'm just letting you know right now, if there's somebody that said to themselves, I want to be a Lego investor, and this is the first video that they're going to watch, I'm not joking. You need to get a damn transcript of this, put it in ChatGPT, and tell ChatGPT to put out the bullet points to this, because there's a lot of good stuff going on here. So much so, I almost think in the next whenever, we need to have just our own private chat to go over a few things. So I absolutely agree that the landscape is changing constantly. You know, I used to say, oh, you know, at the end of Q4, first thing you do on the third week of January is you write down what you learned and then you pivot it for next year. I mean, you're freaking pivoting almost every month right now, right? Now, if there's one good thing that is going for the people like us that are still in the trenches is, you know, compared to 5 years ago, the product that Lego is putting out is far more superior, right? So there's, I don't want to say I'm going to disagree with anybody here, but I would just like to give a different perspective, right? Going back to the beginning of the question, to one of the questions earlier on, I don't think in every case 50% off is something that people should always pull the trigger on. And maybe I heard it differently. Maybe there's a couple people on here that might be saying, "Well, that's not what I thought," or that's not what I intended to say. Not all Lego sets that are 50% off are equal, right? There are some sets out there, and I'm afraid I'm going to get hammered, and I'm fine. Ken needs to get the yellow flag ready. I am not a fan of 20% off. I don't think I'm trying to. I'm going to blow some minds here. I've either bought something at 30% off this year, or I've bought something at full price Jones. I haven't purchased anything at 20% off.
But spill the beans. Spill the beans. What did you buy full price? Everyone wants to know.
oh yeah.
Well,
That
Ken
works out
should
well.
know. Ken should. Well,
Anybody
if you buy something at 30-40% off, if you buy 50 units at 30-40% off, you could afford to buy another 40 units at full price Jones to cost dollar average, if you believe that it is a winner. And I would be curious here, and I'm going off on a tangent, so every time I'm in one of y'all states, the drinks are on me. But Lego has a superior, and I don't know if they hired a bunch of Gen Z designers or whatever, but the product is so much superior, in my opinion, in the designs, in the creative ideas, than it was 5 years ago, right? So if there is one thing that is helping the resellers, I do think that is going to be a big piece of it. You know, I used to religiously, but this was such a long time ago, I'm having to recall memories. I would religiously make sure nothing was going on during the day whenever the latest Star Trek Next Generation came out, right? Like I'm sitting down, and that's what I'm watching. I'm super excited over that. The Lord of the Rings bookend set, I'm just glancing at things. I've never gotten into Lord of the Rings, not because I don't want to. I just feel like I need to dedicate like 2 weeks of like me renting out a hotel room just to get into Lord of the Rings, because I'm not giving it the proper respect. But I totally appreciate Lord of the Rings. That freaking design, that looks bad to the bone, and I'm not even you know, a mega fan of Lord of the Rings. There are certain things out there that I think are absolutely fantastic, and I'm just throwing this out there. Even some of the basic stuff. The last thing I like to do is share anything from any of the VIP group chats, and I know there's I'm just say it right now. I know there's a effing VIP group chatter out there that requests to have certain comments deleted on my videos that people are giving out good information. You need to effing stop that. But I don't know if it's by design or by accident. That NASA set, the Space Shuttle NASA set with the 747. I think that design is genius, not because necessarily of the design. I don't know if it was by design or by accident. It looks like a set that retired 20 years ago. I mean, it looks like an older throwback set. So
it looks like the Boeing 777 that they did in the same style.
So,
it really
so
does.
is Lego reselling dead? Yeah, for all the freaking pussies out there, but for the people that love to do jumping jacks, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. When was the last year was an exciting year, but there's a lot of things going on this year. You know, I will say historically during the VIP group chats, March, April, May, I'll be like, you know, we kind of know all the information going out to the end of the year. I would say that year after year after year. But then Lego keeps on releasing this effing cool stuff where I'm like, you know what? This is something people are going, and I'm not talking about the Back to the Future DeLorean. That is cool, but we're over that. But there's so many cool things coming out that why wouldn't you want to be a Lego reseller? Why wouldn't you want to pay an extra premium, even if even if the four of you aren't collecting, you know, 3x like you may have used to, or 2x like you used to? I have, and I swear to God, if you text me now, I'm going to block you on my phone. But there's this one person who I love and has helped me out, who celebrates the fact that he sold a bunch of sets recently at 80% ROI, and it only retired in December, right? This is a person that's new to Lego reselling, so he hasn't been hit by a bat in the face like the ATST Raiders, right? He hasn't, you know, this guy is freaking, right now, every bat he swings is a grand slam. What's my point here? I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Lego reseller. The products, I think, are better. I think competition is good. We may not even talk about the damn Mattel brick shop. I have the graphic made. but I need to send in the T-shirt order where I'm a Mattel Brick Shop influencer. But I'm anyway. I'm done.
afraid you've gone over 30 seconds.
Yeah. Drinks are on me.
Where's the
Drinks
ref
are
on
on
this
me, by the way. Drinks are on me.
All right.
You're
So
gonna have to buy us
with
the
that
whole
patch of
damn bar.
excitement.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
All right. So
So
with all
awesome.
that excitement, I want to throw out a question that kind of wasn't in our plan here. Do you guys think that the rise of light kits and things like that has added a lot of interest to certain sets, like a NASA set or modulars, trains, cars, whatever? Is that helping those, or do you think it's kind of a wash? It's just part of the scenery.
I just got to jump in and have a strong opinion because Jim seems to be hogging it all tonight, and there's
Yeah.
5 people on this call. So, no, it's a drop in the bucket. How many? Yeah, he's done. He'll be back. How many Tales
you,
of the
Jim.
Space Age buyers are going ahead and buying the light kit? And that's like the sickest light kit of them all. What percentage of Tales of the Space Age buyers? 5%? I think you're
0.2.
optimistic even at that.
Yeah.
So is it a little sub industry that could potentially make some money on some sets? Yes, sure, maybe. Compared to Lego, it's a drop in the bucket. And does it drive demand? Not really.
So yeah, I wonder because there's a lot of different brands now. I mean, only like 3 or 4 that I think I would even consider. But with that many popping up, you got to figure that there's some level of decent demand. I wonder what the Amazon numbers look like there.
I just looked on one of the listings. They've sold maybe 600-700 total.
Total.
Not in a month.
Oh.
Total.
The most of the month was 100, and it was in December. Most of the months they don't have a 50 plus sold. Most are
Okay.
below.
Yeah. So there's our answer right there. It's less than 2 a day for every single light kit, with the exception of one.
But
No.
that's one.
Wait.
So I mean, there's multiple.
Oh,
out there.
that's one particular model. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, if there are multiple sellers, it's got to be a good margin business. And just looking at it, I mean, how much can some string lights and wire, really cost? Those margins are probably the one thing that's better than Lego sets sealed, but in terms of volume, no.
So last night, Keith from Brick Together, Click Together interviewed Kenny from Light My Bricks, and they did a tour of the warehouse, and he showed his his R&D department, which is a little corner and a guy at a desk, and the video editing and all the rest of that. It was a pretty cool setup. It was pretty amazing how big that warehouse was for a company that just sells Lego lights, and they do a couple other like off-brand and like anime statue things. I guess they're working on now.
Okay, so they do more than Lego.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a brand new thing. They're just working on prototypes for, but they're blowing up pretty big and it's huge.
So my question
What's
on
that?
the topic is, when does Lego say we're not even going to give other companies space to sell light kits? We're just going to put them in our sets themselves, because I think that could be interesting. I see Jim shaking his head no, but I think that could be interesting.
But that's the one place where there's already competition in the market. So if a light kit is $35, Lego's official light kit will be $50. And the consumer, if I was going to buy a light kit, the $35 one is probably just as good. Knowing Lego, theirs will be a ripoff and have horrible quality control or something.
Maybe, but remember, those light kits, you have to do some rebuilding, and not all, some are better at having pieces with little channels that they can run through. Whereas if Lego, and I think they're smartly waiting, I don't think the technology is quite there yet. I don't think the ease of use is quite there yet, but I do predict, not in the next few years, but maybe 5 or so, maybe 5-10 years, that Lego will release sets with light kits that are basically just embedded in, to where you are not having to run wires around. It's just, you know, it's within certain bricks and it shines certain ways, and you don't even have the option of buying a Lego light kit or not. It's just part of the set and really easy to build in. They'll just have leads connecting in certain spots and through the bricks, and you won't have to deal with running wires. And I think Lego's going to get some pressure to do that before or some market pressure to do that before too long. And that, when those sets come out that are done well, DG, I know quality control is an issue, but if they're done well and they are easy and still fun to build, just like Lego stacking bricks and plates, I would want to invest in that original wave. I can tell you that much.
I don't think they'll do it though for shipping purposes. We saw what they did to the boxes. They contain batteries, right? The light brick.
Oh
Yeah.
my word!
So just for like,
Well, that's only
the ability
US.
to move things by air freight, like you can't put batteries in air freight. And so for Legos, I don't know the details of their logistics chain, but I think they'll do a standalone maybe for that reason.
Batteries not included. They'll have everything else hooked up and a nice little brick where you can just connect in either a USB, or you can connect in, you can just put in a couple of AAAs. They'll have specialty bricks and everything, and no battery
Wow.
ship. That's my guess.
You're taking me way back with the Lego parts that accept AA and AAA batteries.
Yeah, I know, but it's gonna be super modernized.
So I think I could be wrong. I think Lego is too lazy for that.
Right now, the market pressure will come in the next decade.
I mean, you have Mattel, and I've shared this story before, and I promise this is going to be real quick. You know, I've shared it really will. I promise. You know, back in another life when I was a Starbucks store manager, we went to our annual conference, and they were saying, "Man, McDonald's is kicking our ass," and we're like, "What?" And they said, you know, we thought that McDonald's had to make good coffee, but we discovered that people want coffee that's just good enough, right? And I think historically there have been plenty of times where I think it's been proven that Lego has been not nimble enough, not because they can't be, just because they've been asleep at the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was watching this video right now and I worked at Lego, I would call you up right now and be like, you're now in charge of the light kit department, because everything I think you said is accurate. But I always feel like they're sleeping behind the wheel. I mean, you have Mattel, but before you had Mattel, you had Funhole, right? And something I keep on forgetting to do is, you know, my wife always texts me what Lego set she wants for whatever upcoming gift or holiday it is. But I see a lot of the non-Lego influencers on social media just hawking Funhole, right? And is Lego sleeping at the wheel because they think people want good products, or do they, or do people want products that are good enough? So I just don't. And me personally, I was very nervous one time. I called somebody and he's like, "I just saw your last 4 videos." I'm like, "Oh shit! Like, am I going to get in trouble because maybe I said something I shouldn't have because I got information from him?" But I'm just going to say it right now. It's a family-owned company, right? And the new generation in that family does not want to do a lot of work. And so I see that as a detriment to them. But I mean, I think everything you said would put Lego continue to have Lego at the front of the line. But I'm just not. I mean, I'm optimistic. Like the light bulb went off somewhere where they're like, okay, we have some Gen Z designers, and they're just knocking it out of the park. You see some designs that will make your head spin because you've never seen this before, and you're so happy that they're doing this. But in some other areas, they're not. I just see that they're still asleep at the wheel.
So, talking Lego and lighting kits and whatnot, since you mentioned Fun Hole, they changed their name to Lumibricks
Yep.
to bring the fact that they come with light kits right into the name,
Yep.
which, yeah, it's pretty brilliant on their part. And really, Fun Hole, worst name ever. Worst name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Still funny.
Lego turns like an oil tanker. DG's got to get a glass of water, but Lego turns like an oil tanker, right?
It does.
And they're on to their 5th generation of family-owned business. And Lego designs and makes Lego sets really well. And that's it. They don't even do prints well anymore for the most part. Like, I feel terrible for their art designers that come up with these great prints, the art side of it, and then the production and the quality control sucks, right? But there's no guarantee, there's no guarantee that a company will be around forever. My grandfather had a career at Montgomery Ward. Pretty cool experience, pretty cool time he had there, but that company is gone, and Sears is just about out the door. But Sears did beat him by at least a generation or so. But there is some history with Lego, and they have shown some signs of learning from history. So, through generation 1, 2, and 3, there was very little succession planning within the family and the future leaders of the company. And now they have, I forget what they call it, but now they have like a Lego school for the young, not, into the business generations. So they're at least educated and getting some sort of training. They have a whole subsidiary company that is responsible for teaching and preparing future generations to run the company or have play whatever role they're going to play in the company. And then, Lego has been close to out of business twice, and most famously in 2003. And what did they do in 2003? Well, they were 2 or 3 years into Star Wars and Harry Potter. A lot of people think that's what saved the company. It's not. It was important. It was critically important. And that was new to them. They had a lot of internal pushback saying, we're Lego. We don't need a license with anybody else. We're Lego. Well, they made the decision to do it, and thank God they did, because Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Batman, Superman, all the other stuff, licensing, Fast and Furious, it's great. But the other thing they did was they got off their butts and they created Bionicle. And that saved the company. And so, but now you fast forward to today, and they're back into their, pre-2003 heyday. And today they're making $2 billion of profit annually. $2 billion profit annually for a family-owned company. They have zero market pressure to make prints good. They have zero pressure to print white on red so that it doesn't look pink. We all scream and shout, and Lego's like, I don't care. Now, maybe the Virginia production plant that's either just came online or is about to come online will help some of that. But right now, at $2 billion a year profit, there's no market pressure. But they sure as heck had market pressure back in 2003, and they acted. And so hopefully, when it comes, because inevitably it will come, they can't ride this high forever. Hopefully they're ready and prepared to act again. And I got some I got some things I'd like them to act on. So it'll be interesting to see what their competitors are doing well that they decide they need to take on. And again, having lights inside their pre-developed, pre-packaged and pre-developed in their kits might be one of the things.
So in defense of Lego, I feel like we've been crapping on them a lot.
No, I love Lego.
I think they're honestly doing a great job because they have such a monopoly on good IPs. Like this Pokemon deal is huge.
Yep.
Like that's going to boost their brand image a ton. They picked up like One Piece, you know, all these culturally relevant things. They get everything they want, you know.
Mario.
So, you know, at least they're continuing to make popular items and get people things they want.
Yep.
I had to duck out for a sec, but Lego is among the worldwide brands with the best perception among the general public. We talk a lot about Lego investors and the Lego hobby in general. First of all, Lego investors are like 5% of the Lego hobby, and the Lego hobby is like 10% or 20% of the adult population. You know what I mean? And it's grown so much, but it's still like, we have to keep things in perspective that for every hardcore fan, there's 20 normies who see a botanical at Target and say, okay, sure, let's give this a try.
So another thing with Lego is we talk about Lego, we're talking about a box full of bricks, more or less, right? They have their own theme park. There is no other toy brand I'm aware of that has a theme park, right? There's
a non-publicly traded company that has, but that's not the same company though. I think there's like, I think they're separate.
Merlin Entertainment and Lego owns 40% stake in that company now. It's been that way.
It's something
years.
like
but
that.
Still, I see what Ken's saying. It's still a Lego theme park. Yeah.
They're the only brand that has its own aisle in the store.
Yep.
Like you go to Walmart, there's, you know, you're going to the Lego aisle.
Yep.
Even Barbie doesn't have a full dedicated aisle, and Barbie's kind of a big deal, right? They're in video games. yeah. So we video games, theme parks, toys. What other toy brand has its own toy store? I can't think of any, right? And on top of them having all of that, they're also tied in with their competitors, right? I mean, they're putting out Transformers Lego sets, right? Kind of a competitor, kind of not. I guess depends on how you shake it. Their biggest theme park competitor, you would call Disney, who they also manufacture sets for. Lego has their hand in everything. I would say that they're a lot more stable, spread across the board now than they were, whatever it was, 22 years ago or something too. I mean, they put themselves in a real good spot.
That's a good point.
Totally agree, but especially it's interesting when you listen to like the marketers or the design developers in the toy industry, because they talk about how they are. Did you get him?
Got his ass.
Awesome.
Nice. But it's fascinating, like the show The Toys That Made Us years ago on Netflix, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There was a Lego episode. You know, I loved watching that. But it's fascinating because they all talk about how every year is a new year. Every year, it's the competition is to be the toy of the year, especially for the holidays. And you are marketing to the most difficult consumer out there, the 10-year-old kid, right? Because 10-year-old kids, man, the fad will come and go so quick. I have a 13 and 11-year-old, and just the things that they say changes in 6 months. And, you know, my wife and I will goof with them and we'll, say some of their old stuff and they'll be like, nobody says that anymore. And it's been 2 months, right? So yes, Lego has definitely put themselves in a good position, but I don't want them to rest on their laurels. I love Lego personally. I have a lot of my own sets. I love to build them. Great family pastime with the kids. Like, I love Lego. I want it to go on for years. I want to have a great Lego collection until right before I die so that my family doesn't have to deal with them all. And so I just don't want them to rest. And I know it's totally different sector, but Boeing has been on my mind recently for some reasons, just work related and, the space industry and all that kind of stuff. Right. And I own a smidge of Boeing stock, unfortunately. And it's like, look, Lego, I know, at least I didn't buy it at the worst time. But Lego or Boeing, 10 years ago, we'd probably be saying, yeah, Boeing's well diversified. They're involved in a lot of things. They're in good shape. And like it feels like overnight they became the laughing stock of the industry. Now, look, they're going to come back, but they're going through a rough patch.
We got to have an episode at some point that's the stock episode, the stock market episode. That'll be.
Oh, dude, I was thinking about having one right after this chat in the green room. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I have a hard stop at 11, so I got 32 minutes. So we're gonna have to, Jim, don't have a green room chat without me. Let's reschedule that.
Yeah, we're gonna let's paywall it. That's premium content. That's what everybody wants to know.
We'll do a pay-per-view episode.
Monday.
Oh, yeah. I look forward to making that ad. I have to wear a different outfit though. All right, where are we? All right, let's go this way. We'll switch it up a little bit. So, talking about the kind of a side note of Lego investing being dead. The people that have panicked and ran off already. What's the short term and the long term impact of that? Let's go short term for all of the people that are panicking and selling low, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at Keepa charts, you can see, like, on a set that's been around for 4 years, you can see just incrementally each year supply is going down, and whenever there's less supply and there's still the same demand, prices are going to rise fast. Prices will rise faster, and that's what we're seeing. Like, the past 2 years have been personally my best years Lego investing, because prices have risen so quickly and buying sets at so cheap. You hit your profit targets very quickly. And so did the investor exodus make things better or worse? Absolutely made them better. In the short term, it made them better. In the long term, it's better. I think the Lego investing market is going to have waves of people coming in and out. Like we had COVID, a big wave high, now we're in a low. And as more people, maybe we'll see more Lego investing influencers out there making more content in another year or two, because they'll have some really great profits this year, next year, and they'll be like, oh, it's another big like wave of investors will come in. I could see that happening. So long term, who knows? I could see the number of investors increasing again, but absolutely has made the market better.
Well, there's also just the age old, like, what do they say? Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. You wanna be buying what's out of favor and what nobody wants. If all your buddies are patting you on the back about, yeah, we're all buying the hot thing and we're all going to get rich, that's it usually doesn't shake out that way. If you look at history, bubbles are a real thing. So to make like a stock market analogy, I don't want to go too deep into this. Oil is way down right now. Nobody's buying oil stocks, right? Prices are down. Oil prices forecast to be low for the future. Nobody's buying these stable U.S. oil giants that have more or less stable profits, more or less stable revenues, but sentiment
it's not sexy.
It's not sexy, right? Exactly. And all the oxygen in the room is being sucked out by AI and Nvidia stock and all these Mags 7s. And yeah, there's been tremendous returns there. But if today I had capital to deploy, I wouldn't be buying the shiny object. I'd be buying what's out of favor. And so when Lego investing is the shiny object, that's when you got to be fearful. And when nobody wants it, that's when there's actual more opportunity.
Boring makes money.
Oh yeah, it does.
Well, let me throw this in there and see if this plays into it at all. So last December, when Amazon went around and just murdered 50% of their sellers, whatever the number was, I think a lot of those people said, like, oh shit, we're not getting ungated until after the first of the year now, which, as far as I know, most of them still haven't. They hit the brakes and stopped buying. That factor into zombie stock at all, do you think? Because Resellers eat up a whole lot of inventory.
So I have a question.
Yep.
Is the reason why there is zombie stock, at least to a certain degree, the reason why we have zombie stock is because there's so many resellers getting out of the game, and Amazon didn't factor that in. I mean, if A-frame cabin was a winner, which my opinion it is, it's the closest thing to the Ted Kaczynski cabin that Lego's ever going to make. But you know, I think that's a clear winner. Maybe that 24-year-old who's an intern trying to get a full-time job at Amazon corporate is like, we need to buy the buttload of those because all those damn resellers are going to buy it. And then Tariff City came on board, or you know, whatever factor it is, and people aren't buying it anymore. I mean, I wonder if there's such a drop. So I think it's interesting whenever it was said that 5% of the market are resellers. I am very happy to hear that. I thought it might have been lower. Maybe it's a little bit higher, because I just got an alert today about the A-frame cabin. What other winning sets out there are going to be sticking around because they factored in that resellers? It may be Amazon or Lego or somebody there is thinking, oh crap, you know, Amazon or Lego resellers had more of an impact than what we actually thought, right? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I think we're giving ourselves a little too much credit.
Well,
That's-
it's
And maybe we
it's
are.
such a-
I always try and make sure that we don't, because I got into a Facebook war like 3 years ago with some dude, and I was 1,000% wrong. I was like, you know, Lego resellers are the reason why Lego is staying afloat, and I was wrong. I'll admit that. But no, I'm trying to come up with answers to you know, answers we don't know.
That's the bottom line, is we don't know, right? It's a private company. They give us the big number in the annual report, but they don't give us the line by line 300 retired sets. Here are the financials of each, and here are the sales figures. So we're left to speculate, and we have clues and bits and pieces of data from Keepa and incomplete charts and things, but like, we can only take logic so far. At a certain point, we're just kind of talking out of our butts, and we need to see some numbers.
Yeah, the numbers that we'll never see on a lot of these things.
Unless you're a rat, you know, unless you're an insider.
Yeah. Well,
That's the next step. That's what's next for Lego investing.
I
You
love
gotta
it.
get hired.
well, Lego HQ is moving 20 minutes down the street from here, so we'll see.
Really?
Is that in
Yeah,
Connecticut?
They're opening up in Boston. They're leaving Connecticut. and
Oh,
coming
you
to
mentioned,
Boston.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
following me. They were 15, 20 minutes from me when I was in Connecticut. Now they're following me out. Might be a sign. I might need this information.
So I have a question, and I'm a little bit disappointed. I don't feel like there's going to be. It's really not something to really talk about, although I wish it was. So don't ask me why, but I'm very familiar with the soda pop industry, right? Coke, Pepsi. That's something I've never shared with a lot of people. There is a lot of incestuous relationships there. You'll have some exec for Coke go to Pepsi, and vice versa, just because there's not a lot of that space out there. There's at least one Lego designer that hopped from Lego, and I think went to Funhole, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what the new name of it is. Illume something. I think it would be very interesting, not just for resellers, but for consumers, if there was a headline every couple of months, like this brick designer, left this company and went to that company, and because my girl Holly, right? She did a video. Long story. She did a video on. I think some Lego and designer went to Funhole or something like that. I think just having a buzz around that would be an extra layer to where people would be like, okay, it's one thing to be a consumer, and there's something that I'm a consumer of lots of things, but there are some things out there that I like to know the inside baseball to stuff, and I feel like that, I don't know, there might be 2 or 3% of the Lego consumers out there that might be interested in that, but I just don't feel like it has a lot of legs. And I think that just proves the point right there.
We yeah, look at us. We get a Coke chat. Yes, I don't really drink soda, but I would tend to agree that would be the way I would lean.
Coke.
And that's based purely off of can colors. Oh, hey, that goes here.
Talk about
RC Comic Bricks, you have the comment of the night.
Talk about boring companies.
You know what? I no, I can't.
Right. That's not very PG.
No, it's not, but it's funny. So if anybody's watching this in Replay Gang, you can go back and see the Save Live chat. Find it in there. Is there a market crash or something? No, not lately. Well, define lately, I guess. Oh, yes, big difference. Yeah, Mayo's in Australia. So we got a big delay in the news there. What's my question here? Fuck, I blush. All right, sorry. All right, here we go. Since Kevin's got 20 minutes, let's get here. So, Kevin, we had talked about this, I don't know, whatever that was, like a month ago or something. We touched on it. Let's bring this one back. Are Lego YouTubers helping or hurting the market? So, what did your data say on this?
That is a tough question.
What kind of Lego YouTubers?
Yeah, us investors or just the enthusiasts, the collectors. I think overall, I think it helps. Even us. I don't think that we are impactful enough. Like Brian was saying, we're not that big. But I think it helps. I think buzz around, it comes back to that old saying that any press is good press. And so I think buzz around Lego helps drive demand for Lego in a positive direction, or maintain it in a positive direction. Yes, there are times that we all talk about sets that we think are going to do great, like the tank from a couple years ago, the fighter tank.
Yep.
But I think all of us are, I think we're an honest group for the most part. Yeah, there's some things that, different channels say, hey, that's exclusive content. Fine. That's, it's part of the YouTube game. But overall, I think we're honest. And I think one of the things we're honest about is that in Lego, you have to diversify, or at least I certainly diversify. And so, I mean, how many sets really, we talked about it. Lego comes out with, like, on brick set, if you go look at each year, it's like, 900 new products. And so it's 600 legit good sets. And maybe 300 of those are worth paying attention to for investing. So every year, we said it earlier, about 350 sets are retiring. There are a lot of choices and a lot of opportunity. The Coliseum, the Batcave, we've already, the world map we haven't talked about yet. There's a lot of interesting sets out there. And so I don't think that we hurt it. Certainly certain sets, I think we can hurt a little bit. Again, going back to the tank as an example. But I think everybody's getting pretty savvy about, okay, we know that there are multiple strategies, diversification, get them on good discount, get things that are flying under the radar. But make sure you have, bites in a lot of things in case something does blow up or in case something fails. Jim, you joke about those what were the ATST Raiders? What were they?
Yeah.
The Mandalorian ATST Raiders. You joke about them, and I assume, I don't know for sure, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I assume you can have a pretty good laugh about them because at the end of the day, you diversified enough that it's, more funny than financially impactful. And the nice thing about Lego is history has shown that even the worst sets, you're not, if you have to liquidate, you're not going to lose a lot of money. A low probability that you lose a lot. And, we're greedy, which is good as Lego investors. So, when we get a 50% return on investment, we're like, that's not so great. But in a couple of years, that's good. Now it does take work. And so, we're looking at like, a bad day is 50% ROI. So having a 0 or a minus ROI is pretty low probability. So
yeah,
I think with our honesty and all the things that we say as a community, you aggregate all that together, I don't think we're hurting the secondary market. And I think overall the buzz helps the secondary market.
Okay. In my opinion, I do not think we're helping the market at all. I mean, if any more supply is added, it obviously does not help current investors or ourselves. But I also do not think we are hurting the market because, as Kevin said, I really do not think Lego investing YouTube videos have that big of an impact on the market. Maybe there will be a few people who buy a few sets here and there because they're like, oh yeah, maybe this will be good. I heard someone talk about it. But like the people that actually like drive markets are whales who have hundreds and hundreds of sets. Those are the people who hold prices at hold sets down at a low price or a mid-range price for a long period of time. And so if people come out and just like speculate and buy a few sets, that is not impacting the market. The issue is large sellers, and not saying they're an issue, but I'm saying that large sellers aren't basing their decisions based off some YouTube videos. So that's my take.
Brian, what do you think about the non-investing Lego YouTube channels?
Oh, it absolutely helps because it's bringing relevance to the sets that are retired or retiring, and people, it drives demand.
But do you think?
I was about to say that's adding demand, whereas investing content is adding supply. So really what we ought to do, what I'm going to do, is stop making investment content, but secretly keep investing and just start pumping up the demand. Hey, everybody, let's all clone army build. Look how cool clone army building is. And then use that to get rich. Kevin, ask your question. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. So I was going to ask, just playing a little devil's advocate, is it possible that all of the Lego reviewers and adult Lego enthusiasts on YouTube, and then on top of it, you've got all of the Lego sponsored, what's their program called again?
Ambassador Network.
Ambassador program. You got all the ambassador program. Like, is it possible that all of that is saturated to where then we're all feeling like there's so much demand and that's influencing Lego to overproduce? And that actually would hurt us because eventually Lego's got to offload them, but it's almost feeling like a self-licking ice cream cone at this point.
So I missed part of your question because it cut out, but I would say that Lego, if I got your question right, Lego isn't basing their production numbers based off like YouTube channels and creators and stuff. It'd be more so the actual sales numbers that they are seeing.
Yep.
If that's what you're asking, I may have missed part of the question.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but human beings are emotional at the end. We talked about, boring stocks versus the sexy emotional stocks, right? Like human beings are emotional. Lego is fallible. Their leadership, they've learned over the years that they should engage their community. They create the ideas program. They're engaging more with adults, right? So yeah, they're going to look at a lot of numbers, but there's an emotional aspect to it. And when you live in the Lego bubble and you hear how awesome Lego is and you see constantly how much demand there is, it could be influencing them to overproduce or overprint copies.
So
go ahead, Jim.
quickly, something that I just thought of is something, one theme that is doing really well that I haven't seen Lego influencers have they made videos about this? Sure, but definitely not to the degree of Star Wars Lego videos or other Harry Potter videos. I mean, if I had to guess, each Lego ambassador has maybe made 3 videos on this a year. But when you walk into the Lego store, it's the most prominent thing out there. You see a wall of it, right? It's botanicals. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm mentioning that is because we're talking about our Lego YouTubers helping or hurting the market. The influencers, will they make a video about it if a new botanical set comes on? Sure. But I don't think that's the number one reason why there's people walking to the Lego store and seeing a wall of botanical sets, right? It would be interesting. I would argue the last time, and next time I go to a Lego store, I'm going to do it. I'm going to look at the wall space of botanicals, especially in the springtime, versus the wall space on Star Wars sets right now, right? I don't see somebody in the niche botanical ambassador space on YouTube. I look at it as there's 4 types of Lego YouTubers. There's us, and I'll say there's one group that is the worst. There's us, there's the Lego influencers, there's the people that just like talking about Lego, and then there's the people that the worst that are doing whatever it takes and kissing Lego's ass to become a Lego influencer. That's feeding the beast right there, right? And it all culminates during a movie premiere of Return of the Galaxy or whatever the hell that was. And I'm just smiling to myself. I'm saying to myself, I guarantee you there's some Lego influencers right there on that red carpet that are saying to themselves, look at us. Doesn't everybody wish that we could be there? And the answer is no. I don't wish I could be there. I'm actually happy that I'm in my house right now because I don't like being around a cluster of people, which is why I didn't go to Brick World Chicago this year. But I think every month we're pivoting into something that is undefined. This is the first year where I've seen the botanicals have such a prominent display at the Lego shop. And I think it's easy to say. I think it's more, if someone were to be a Lego investor starting out this year, God bless you, right? It's one thing in 2012 where my head is spinning walking down a Target and Lego aisle and I'm trying to figure all this stuff out versus 2025 and all this stuff is in your face. So I don't know. I think in a lot of areas YouTube is not hurting the market, but in maybe a small percentage it is.
David, what do you got there?
Yeah, Jim kind of jogged my brain a little bit. All markets go through a cycle. It's called the maturity cycle. It starts out, it's a small market. Liquidity is low. It's few buyers, few sellers. There's not a lot of activity. You have a lot of price fluctuations because there's not efficiency there. And then as you add more basically volume to the market, more buyers and sellers, the market becomes more efficient. And the natural accepted price gets agreed upon faster. It's easy to make money in these first two phases. And then at the end, all markets reach what's called maturity, which is where they get even more efficient. And basically, all the Lego investors, like everyone on this call, who see all these low-hanging fruit, easy money opportunities, there's enough robustness to the market that those easy opportunities are all gobbled up. And margins decline, profitability goes down. And this is the natural course of all markets. And then if you have, different regulations or government intervention, whatever, that can stir up the pot. But basically, there's a tendency in all markets to imbalances fix themselves. And then the pendulum goes too far the other way. And then the imbalance fixes itself the other way. That's just the way things go. It's possible Lego may hit an inflection point if things get too efficient. A lot of investors may drop out and say, well, why would I do all this work for 20% when I can do other things for 20%? And then, of course, that moves the pendulum back to profitability for the rest of us. So it's always changing, like Jim said, month by month.
So Mayo makes a good point here. If you check BrickSat year over year, Lego keeps producing more sets. It's in the 900s now. Not sure if that's saturation or meeting the demand of the people coming into the hobby. Well, like Jim said a second ago about the botanical sets, that's not necessarily people coming into the hobby. I think that the reason that's growing is because, the kids that are still buying Lego, not counting all of the very grown kids who are doing it, when children go into the store and mom brings them, those sets are for mom. Those sets are for the sister and the grandmother and the people that have nothing to do with Lego, as well as Lego people. I don't think there is a theme that's more accessible to everybody than the botanicals theme. So they can have a full wall of that.
I'm sure Lego is looking at new customer data, kind of like, new viewers. If you were looking at, a sporting event or something like that, or I'm sure they're looking at new customer data, salivating, because those botanicals are selling 10,000 a month on Amazon or more. And then you've got solid Star Wars sets that are selling a couple thousand a month, right? And so they're looking at those numbers going, and their inside numbers going, we have opportunity to come up with the next theme that gets those people buying that one. And that, you cycle that a couple of times, and now you've got these new Lego consumers that are just regular Lego consumers. And if they can capture even a fraction of the botanical group as long-term Lego consumers, then that's going to be a huge jump in demand overall.
Yeah, talk about new demand, like new audience. I don't know what your guys' YouTube analytics look like, but mine look to be about 97% men, and it's a little bit of a sausage party here. So, but the botanicals, right?
It's hard to believe those numbers.
Totally new market. I know we really picked the wrong nerdy hobby. If finding members of the opposite sex was the objective, but I digress. The botanicals, I think, are maybe closer to 80-20, right? Or 70-30. Like, those have appeal to a non-traditional Lego market.
Yeah.
And that's part of why they've kept every decent selling one around, and they've yet to retire any, pretty much. Other than Dried Flower, which was the weakest one.
Then is there one or two on the list this year? Can't remember.
It's just dandelions.
What was it? Was Tiny Plants or one of those?
Yeah,
That on there?
something
Is-
like that, or
is
it's,
Tiny
like, it's one of the stupider ones. Sorry.
I mean, it's not on the list now, at least.
No.
If it was.
Okay. All right, we'll look at that in a little bit. Yeah, we know Brick loves me, so I haven't paid much attention lately. I think we hit everything before Kevin's deadline. How about that? Well done, guys. 2 minutes to spare.
It's awesome.
I love it. You guys are the best.
All right, so we got 2 minutes. Ken, I gotta ask a question. I've been waiting the whole episode.
Yes.
Brian,
All right, what do you
why
got?
are your shelves empty, man?
Oh, I'm just moving stuff around. I'm in a transition period, kind of. So they'll be back. They'll be full in my next video.
Give us more details. Drop the corporate speak. Tell us what's really going on.
Like, if you've
Maybe-
sold a bunch of stuff, I assume you have, partly.
Oh, yeah, I've been selling a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are.
Yeah, you're always selling. That's great.
Everything has gone up in price. It's awesome.
Yep.
Except for a couple things like Phantom Menace Brickheads and the Professors of Hogwarts, and or not Professors of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
And Battle of Endor, and basically all the multi-pack brickheads,
Yep.
which I have.
Yep.
All right, told you so. Just saying.
But we didn't know they would come in stock from Amazon, so that's changes everything. So,
That's
but
good.
Yeah, that was a hell of a curveball.
That was.
yeah. But no, it'll maybe I'll let everyone know next year what happened at this time. period
Next
last-
year.
Yeah,
Next year.
things
Man,
are happening.
Brian's
there's a
being
story
sus.
there, but we gotta wait.
Brian's being sus. Brian's like, things are happening.
When you take your YouTube channel down, that next year, that's when we'll know.
To
No,
quote my 11-year-old when he was 8, you're leaving us on a real hif clanger. So my follow-up question, Brian, is how many minutes, it might even be seconds, before we went live did you say, you know what, let me grab that little space baby and at least put one thing on the shelf behind me?
I planned this out earlier today. I was like, I gotta put
Yeah.
something up there.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the
Yeah.
Space Baby a lot, but that's a topic for a future day.
It's a great GWP. Lots of
It
continued
is.
collectability. I bet they'll have more next year. One more next year in a different color. Goes great with the
Yep, I
upscaled
hope so.
minifigures.
Yep.
I like
some
them.
of the I don't know, not rebreakables, the mock versions, some of the altered versions of that I've seen have been pretty good.
Oh, like the
People taking the head off and replacing it with other things.
or the Millennium Falcon one. I saw that. It looked like the space
That
baby
was
melted.
great.
Yeah, that got posted on Discord earlier today.
Yeah,
That
what
was
is with
great.
what is with people making everything and anything into Millennium Falcons?
There's whatever it is, a subreddit that's called like Can It Falcon or something like that. And it's just
That's
picture
hilarious.
after picture of every random set just turned into a Millennium Falcon. It's unbelievable.
Phenomenal. It's the easiest thing to build out of a pile of bricks. You just got to build a round disc looking thing.
Yeah, I've never been very good at doing recolors like that and having them come out looking like anything decent.
Guys,
That's
we only
actually
have 4 likes. Let me tell you, the last thing I want to do
No.
is throw
that a
stones at
thing?
Sean the right way, but this is better than any freaking a couple of brickheads Thursday night. Come on, give us a couple likes. Let us get to
No,
10,
you
please.
got to refresh. You got to refresh. We're looking better than that. I'm seeing
Okay.
18.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jim,
All right,
I just
that's a
gave a
little
like.
All
KDX
right.
Bricks
I'm also
gave a
seeing
like.
25 people watching. So,
Okay.
all right. I see now.
All right.
There's a bull.
So what are we going to talk about in the green room after this?
You gotta
Jim.
stick around and find out.
Jim, we're rescheduling the green room. I got to roll, man. That's
All
another
right,
time.
we'll reschedule it. We'll reschedule it for
All
next
right.
week sometime.
Yeah, when I hang up, everybody's hanging up so that I don't miss anything because I don't like FOMO.
All right. All right. Well, let's sign off then. We always have the group chat for planning a future situation, whether that's on or off air. But everyone in chat, you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming and hanging out tonight. This has been fantastic. Hope we get to do this again someday. And everyone, we will see you next week, same time, with Ostip's Bricks will be with us next week. And we may have another little special appearance in there. We'll see. But until then, good night, everyone.
Thanks, Ken.